Welcome, and thank you for clicking on this video. In the studio today, I have two different made in Japan Mustang basses. One strung with flatwounds, one strung with roundwounds. Here we go with a sonic comparison. This is a Fender Japan made Mustang bass. It is a Q serial number followed by 6 digits. So this bass was made in either 1993 or 1994. So it's had a chance to age and mellow out a bit. This is a fantastic playing and looking bass. It used to belong to me, but now it belongs to a friend of mine named Wes. So thanks so much, Wes, for loaning me your awesome bass. I first featured this bass in an older video about 3 different Mustangs in the same room. I'll leave a link below, so please check that out. This Mustang bass is made by Schecter Japan. It's from their Pro Gauge series. It's not a Fender, but I gotta say, they cloned it pretty darn close. This, if you were to believe the serial number, was made in about 2012. This is a recent acquisition. It's for my own personal collection, and I love this thing. So both of these basses feature alder bodies. Both of them have maple satin finish necks. Both of them have rosewood fingerboards, and they both have the same Seymour Duncan Design Mustang style pickup. They're both passive. They both only have master volume and master tone. The bridges are, however, different. This one has a kind of a vintage threaded saddle bridge, whereas the Fender Japan Mustang has the more traditional Fender style Mustang bridge. But let's do a sonic comparison between these two. I don't think there are any winners or losers here. I think both of these basses are winners, but I want you to hear and appreciate the sonic differences you can get. The Schecter has Thomastik Infeld flatwounds, gauges 100 to 43. The Fender Japan has Fender branded Nickel roundwounds, and they've been on this bass for probably 2 or 3 years now, so they've really had a chance to mellow out, so it has that played in round sound. But let's put it up to a drum track and let's see how these fare. We're going to do 3 passes. The first one, we'll have the tone knob at 25%. The second pass, we'll have the tone knob at 50%. And then just for fun, the third pass, we'll have the tone knob wide open, but we're going to put on a full tone OCD style distortion that has some grind and bite to it. Here we go. Please let me know what you thought of those playing examples and leave some comments below. I think if there was ever a time to own two basses of the same kind, it would be these. Similar to having a precision bass with roundwounds and another P bass with flatwounds, having two different Mustangs built in a very similar fashion and have one with rounds and one with flats, I think is a great duo to have in your arsenal of basses, especially if you are in the studio a lot and playing different styles of music. I think you can cover a lot of sonic ground with these two basses. Like I mentioned earlier, I don't think there are any winners or losers here. I think both of these basses have their own place in the sonic palette. Just to contrast these two, what I will say is the Schecter is a little more comfortable for me to play. And I think the main reason for that is there is a forearm cutout and kind of a tummy cutout here. Whereas on the Fender Japan, it's a slab style body, so there are no contours at all. Contrasting the rosewood boards, I'm a big fan of rosewood fingerboards. I would say the quality of the rosewood on the Fender Japan is slightly better. I'll put up some photos here. There's some more kind of lighter colored graining on my Schecter, and the Fender Japan has kind of a darker hued board. So I do think the quality of the rosewood is slightly better on the Fender Japan. The neck pocket, however, will go to the Schecter. I think the neck pocket is much tighter here compared to the Fender. But otherwise, the body dimensions and the neck dimensions are very, very similar. And like I said, I think Schecter Japan did a spot-on job essentially cloning this made in Japan Fender Mustang. Sonically, I think both of these instruments have their place in the sonic spectrum. What I will say, however, is I think if you're going to add a lot of overdrive or distortion fuzz type effects, the Mustang strung with rounds, to my ears, just has that much extra harmonic color. So I do think the Mustang with rounds took the distortion better than the flatwound strung Mustang. I'm going to make a brief comment about the pricing of Fender Japan guitars. I used to own a JV serial number and an SQ serial number Squire from Fender Japan. Those were in the first batch of the early years of Squire Japan, and those were fantastic basses, and I still, to this day, regret letting both of those go. So I do think the quality of Fender Japan is excellent. However, recently, the prices have kind of gone a little crazy. I first purchased this Fender Japan Mustang bass maybe 10 or 12 years ago, and I'll be honest with you, I paid under $1,000 for it. If you go on to Reverb now and look for made in Japan Mustang basses, the prices have kind of gone a little crazy. Do I think it's worth the asking price? Whether or not something's worth it or not, especially in terms of an instrument, is kind of a touchy subject. But I do think the prices have gotten a little too high. This Schecter sent me back about 1,000 Canadian dollars, and I think just in terms of value, this is hard to beat for that kind of price. Well, that about does it for today's sonic comparison. I hope you really enjoyed hearing the different sounds you can get from these two made in Japan Mustang style basses. Until next time, peace.